In this installment, we're going to be going over the AFC and NFC Conference Championship games on Sunday. We have the Cincinnati Bengals going up against the Kansas City Chiefs, and we have the San Francisco 49ers going up against the Philadelphia Eagles. Let's get into it. Hey, yo! Welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Chef D, and I'm here to give you the winning ingredients for your AFC and NFC Conference Championship games. This is for all the marbles for the Super Bowl. We have the Chiefs against the Bengals and the Eagles against the 49ers. But before I deep dive into this very intriguing matchup on Sunday, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Make sure you follow me on Instagram and Twitter at MetsNetShetsD. Don't forget about that TikTok at Chef_D91. And don't forget about the Patreon. If you want more DFS betting and fantasy football advice, all those links will be provided down below. We are going to start off at the quarterback position for this two-game slate on Sunday. Starting off at the top here with Patrick Mahomes. Okay, he has the Q tag. We all saw the high ankle sprain in his previous game. Right now, reports are he is going to practice on Wednesday. All right, please follow along with Patrick Mahomes' injury report to make sure he is A-OK in this game, all right? Most likely he is going to play. Maybe he might be partially hampered right there. The mobility will be a question. We'll see as the week goes along. If he gets full practices, that's going to bode well for Patrick Mahomes as well, okay? And this is a game here for the Kansas City Chiefs. They are home, and they're currently underdogs. That is crazy. The Bengals are favored over KC in Kansas City. Patrick Mahomes with the Q tag, that's probably the reason why it's waning, or just the fact that everyone thought the Bills were going to win the Super Bowl. The Bengals beat them, and they're all in on Joe Burrow. But Patrick Mahomes in this matchup. Let's talk about matchups here. Let's look at fantasy points allowed to that QB position. And these Cincinnati Bengals, they have been middling, all right? 22nd overall, 26th in the red zone. We're going to see an average around 260 yards, 1.8 TDs to Patrick Mahomes, all right? And then you're going to boost it up from there because this is the Kansas City Chiefs offense. They got to deal with Kelsey. They got to deal with the myriad of wide receivers they have. And they have a two-headed running back tandem between McKinnon and the rookie running back Pacheco. Absolutely insane. He's been super impressive along this run. All right, so Patrick Mahomes at $7,600. Love his price point there. Obviously, the Bengals have a history of dominating these Kansas City Chiefs. They have beat them 3 games in a row. In the previous matchup in the week 13, Patrick Mahomes had 19 fantasy points. That was in Cincinnati. We expect a better game from him in Kansas City when you have the crowd backing him. And the Super Bowl is going to be on the line, all right? Patrick Mahomes has that elite pedigree. So I have no problem going towards him in this game, especially if we're looking at the Cincinnati Bengals defense against QBs. Like I said, it's 22nd overall, 26th in the red zone. It's not going to shy me away from playing Patrick Mahomes, especially if a lot of people percentages are going to be fluctuated here, and a lot of people are going to go towards Joe Burrow. All right, so Patrick Mahomes at $7,600 is a buy. Next, we have Jalen Hurts. He could be the number 1 QB of Sunday because of that rushing upside. He was calm, cool, and collected in his game against the Giants here. 16-24, 154 yards, 2 TDs, chipped in with 34 rushing yards and a touchdown as well. So this is an environment where a lot of people are going to shy away from Hurts because of San Francisco 49ers' vaunted defense here, all right? They're going to be very scared of that, but we're looking at the Eagles, top 5 in offensive line. We have weapons out the wazoo with A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith, Dallas Goedert. That's going to be hard to control. And we're looking at fantasy points allowed to that QB position. These San Francisco 49ers have been getting a little bit leaky, and this is the perfect team to go up against here, where there's not one key guy you can focus on. They are very dangerous throughout the whole entire offensive roster here. Now, as you can see, San Francisco is 19th overall, 14th in the red zone. The key number here is they're allowing almost 300 yards passing a game in 2 TDs to the QB position. That's going to bode well for Jalen Hurts. So I definitely like going to him if we're going to see less exposure because of the matchup here against San Francisco 49ers. Jalen Hurts at 7,200 is another one that can be contrarian in Sunday's tournaments. All right. Next guy we're going to talk about, Joe Burrow. All right. He continues to step up. I told you he was a sneaky play last week against Buffalo, and he came through. All right. 242 yards, 2 TDs, chipped in with 31 rushing yards, which was a surprise as well. Got you 20.78 fantasy points. They bumped him up to 6,800. KC, that you expect this to be a high-scoring affair. So I definitely wanted to attach myself to have some exposure to Joe Burrow and some to Patrick Mahomes. Okay, the quarterback we're not going to really play, or pretty much at all, will be Brock Purdy. We're going to talk about him very soon. But these are the three guys that you're going to utilize. You're going to utilize Joe Burrow, you're going to utilize Jalen Hurts, and you're going to utilize Patrick Mahomes. The guy that has the most upside is going to be Hurts because he has the rushing ability. Yes, the matchup is bad, but what we've seen from the San Francisco 49ers defense, besides that game from Dallas, is Dallas did what they usually do. They don't show up. So I'm going to be contrarian and go with some upside, because when plays break down, Jalen Hurts can get chunks of yardage. I will lean towards him as my number one QB, and then you're going to flip a coin between Joe Burrow and Patrick Mahomes, okay? So Joe Burrow is going to be third on my list because we have the question mark with the offensive line. You're missing 3 starters on that offensive line, and we're talking about a veteran defensive line here with the Kansas City Chiefs. They got Jones coming after him. They have a top 5 sack rate in the league at 9%. And last week, these Bengals faced the ranked 19th Buffalo Bills. They don't get any pressure on the quarterback. That's why Joe Burrow had so much time to get the ball to Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and the other guys like that, and Hayden Hurst. That's going to be a different story in Kansas City. Kansas City is going to bring that pressure, especially with their veteran D coordinator. It's going to be Joe Burrow running for his life, most likely, or creating some type of off-the-wall play here. But he's going to see pressure in this game in Kansas City, all right? It's not going to be easy like it was against Buffalo. Last but not least, I do have to mention about Brock Purdy. He's at 5,300. It was a defensive game against Dallas. Finally saw a top-tier defense. He's going to see that yet again with the Philadelphia Eagles. They're going to bring a 71% blitz percentage on third down as well. There's going to be heavy pressure from this top 3 defense here in the Philadelphia Eagles. It doesn't get easier. Dallas pressure rate went up in this game against the San Francisco 49ers, and that's why you've seen Brock Purdy struggle. There was a field goal game there, very defensive, and the only way for him not to lose the game was not to mess up. Now, we're coming against a team here in the Eagles, top-tier corners, top-tier front 7 that they're bringing on that football field, and it's going to be a real huge test for Brock Purdy, the biggest test of his career. This is why I do not like him for Sunday. We're going to stay away from him. I'm not going to try to go up against Philadelphia Eagles defense with us. This is where the rubber meets the road here. We saw against Dallas, only 9 fantasy points. I see a very similar production game from him against the Philadelphia Eagles in Philadelphia. With that crowd and that defense, it doesn't bode well for him. So we're going to stay away from Brock Purdy, focus on the other 3 QBs. Let's go on to the running backs. At the running back position, we're going to start off at the top with Christian McCaffrey at $8,000 in salary. I told you guys last week to watch out for him. They were going to key in on Christian McCaffrey, but the only way that he was going to, meet value was in the receiving game, and that's what happened. He did get into the end zone, but was not productive rushing that football, only 3.5 yards a carry. The Dallas defense understands to stop Brock Purdy, stop the run, and that really kills all the great play action type of plays that they have in this Kyle Shanahan offense. So that's going to be the same key with the Philadelphia Eagles. Eagles have a stout run defense, and they're going to be able to bring pressure with just 4. They didn't even have to blitz. So this is why this is going to be a very ugly matchup for these San Francisco 49ers. And for Christian McCaffrey to meet value, he's going to have to do it in the receiving game yet again. As you can see against Dallas, 6 receptions, 8 targets, 22 yards. All right, not much depth in the routes. A lot of short passes just to move the ball. And I foresee the same situation here against these Philadelphia Eagles. So if you're willing to pay up $8,000, McCaffrey's going to have to get in the end zone probably multiple times, all right? He will see a good amount of usage. As you can see, he had around 16 to 18 touches in this game. He's going to have to be more productive, but this is a much tougher matchup here in Philadelphia, all right? So you might want to stay away from paying $8,000 salary with Christian McCaffrey. All right, Joe Mixon here finally showed up. I told you about his numbers and Buffalo's struggling against rushing teams here, and Joe Mixon showed up. He had 105 yards and a touchdown, chipped in with 2 receptions as well for 18 yards. Now, his matchup against these Kansas City Chiefs is a pretty okay one, all right? If we're looking at it, they've been kind of strong to finish off the season. 18th overall, 5th in the red zone, not allowing touchdowns here. This is where they don't allow touchdowns. They allow more receiving touchdowns than rushing touchdowns. 4.2 yards a carry, 86 yards a game. That's pretty good, all right? But they are giving up some receiving yards to running back, so that's going to focus in on a little bit of Joe Mixon here. He's going to get a handful of targets, and that's going to also factor in Samaje Perine. Say that this game gets out of hand, it kind of changes up the game script. You can see a scenario where you might need to play Samaje Perine at 4,500. He saw 5 receptions on 5 targets last week against Buffalo. All right, they're going to use a nice 2-headed monster here in the third down situations. That's when you'll see Samaje Perine. He can exploit this defense on those downs, and technically he's the better guy running up the middle. Man, on the key first down to end the game, it was Samaje Perine. So don't forget about Samaje Perine as a punt option at the running back position. Joe Mixon's in a decent spot, but if you want to save salary, Perine would be a decent get. Next running backs we're going to talk about will be the Kansas City guys. I'm going to mention Jerick McKinnon first. He has the PPR upside in this matchup against Cincinnati. Cincinnati has been stout stopping the run. All right, if we're looking at their numbers here, these Bengals are currently 6th overall and 15 in the red zone, around 3.6 yards a carry, 68 yards total. But they are giving up around 25 receiving yards a game. But the difference here is with Kansas City Chiefs offense, Andy Reid is a mastermind. And in this previous matchup here, both of these guys had a solid day. Week 13 in Cincinnati, 8 for 51. Very efficient from Jerick McKinnon. He chipped in with a touchdown and a reception as well. That's where he comes in to be a factor in the receiving game. So if you prefer McKinnon and you think he's going to be more dynamic in that passing game, you can go towards him at 5,400. But I think I like Isaiah Pacheco a little bit more. The way he is running in this postseason is insane. He brings a different type of energy to the offense when he's on the field. And you saw it in this Jacksonville game. That's where they really controlled and had dominance in that second half, using and utilizing Isaiah Pacheco in that second half. And he was popping off some huge runs. He had a 39-yard run there, very aggressive. And I think that's going to be a big game changer if they can get this running game going and utilizing Isaiah Pacheco, because he is a beast going through the middle. Similar to like a Marshawn Lynch, how aggressive and hard he runs. He was 12 and 95 in that game against Jacksonville, and in the previous matchup against Cincinnati, he had another solid performance. 14 carries, 66 yards, 4.7 yards a carry, and had 16 fantasy points. So outstanding day from both of these guys on the Kansas City Chiefs side. They dominated running that football, and we're probably going to see they're going to need to utilize both of those guys in this game if Mahomes is hampered. All right, so like McKinnon and Pacheco, if I had to lean one or the other, I'm going to go with Pacheco. All right. Next running back we're going to talk about will be Miles Sanders here at $5,200 in salary. This is going to be a tougher matchup here against San Francisco. San Francisco has been stopping the run all season long. Let's look at fantasy points allowed to that running back position. San Francisco is 5th and 3rd. So we might want to stay away from this matchup. It was a perfect matchup against the Giants. That's why we saw Kenneth Gainwell go off. We saw Boston Scott get in the end zone as well. And they didn't really need to utilize Miles Sanders, but he was very efficient rushing the football, 5.3 yards a carry against the 49ers. So in this matchup, it's going to be a little bit tougher. They're going to need to utilize Jalen Hurts outside of the pocket. That's where you can get some rushing yards against the 49ers defense, unscheduled breakdown plays, and Hurts creating with his legs and arm, all right? So Sanders going to take a backseat on him. Let's continue going down. We have Elijah Mitchell. If I don't like McCaffrey, then it's probably not going to be looking good for Elijah Mitchell at $4,900 in salary. I wouldn't want to touch him. If I had to choose, it would just be paying up for McCaffrey because he's going to get more usage. All right. Kenneth Gainwell is going to be utilized in the receiving game. He was key in this game against the Giants. It was pretty much a blowout, and they just played their second string guys in that second half. Kenneth Gainwell was able to pop off a big run and get in the end zone, had 22 fantasy points. So in some scenarios on third down, Kenneth Gainwell can be a factor if we're going to save salary there at the running back position. I'd rather just pay for either McKinnon or Isaiah Pacheco, okay? So the running backs position is going to be pretty ugly. We want to go with guys now, just looking at matchups, we're going to go with guys with usage. So McCaffrey looking out after the whole pool. McCaffrey's going to get a decent amount of usage. My favorite running back so far on that Sunday slate is going to be between the Kansas City guys, between Pacheco and McKinnon. You can even play both because how this offense is, and that's going to be super contrarian because the matchups on the other side are pretty ugly. Maybe the safest play could be Joe Mixon because at 6,500, KC was in the middle. And rush defense wise, everything else is pretty scary, especially San Francisco and Philly. Both of those teams are stout against run defense. The safest plays would be in that KC and Cincinnati game. That's why I'm leaning towards Mixon, Pacheco, and McKinnon. Let's go on to the wide receivers. At the wide receiver position, we're going to connect with the guys that we like at the quarterback position the most. I want to key in on this Cincinnati KC game. That's where I think the total will be the highest. And let's double check that real quick so you guys get a little so you guys can see here. We got a current over under for these playoff games at, go to the NFL section. We have a 47 and a 46.5. So that's pretty high total in that San Francisco 49er game going up against the Eagles with those two defensive teams. So that's going to be intriguing to see. And then the Kansas City Chiefs and Bengals will be at a 47. So the higher total there is with the Kansas City Chiefs. So we're going to focus in on that one. And we're going to focus with the tandem here with the Kansas City Chiefs, Juju Smith-Schuster, Tony, and MVS. Between those three, let's see how Juju Smith-Schuster did last week. So a continual no progress here with Juju Smith-Schuster. Been middling since week 15 against Houston, so he could come out of nowhere. That's why he's a okay play at below $5,000 in salary. But the guy I want to utilize here as a wide receiver in this offense will be Kadarius Toney. He's the more explosive guy out of the wide receivers here, and he saw 5 receptions, 7 targets, 36 yards. Okay, utilized him in rushing as well because he could break. His yards after the catch is insane. So Kadarius Toney at 3,700, I think that's too cheap. I love him as a wide receiver for the Kansas City Chiefs. I like him there. And then MVS came through finally. He got in the end zone, didn't see much targets, so he's only a dart throw type of wide receiver because he's mainly used as a deep threat. Got in the end zone. That was a bright spot to see. But we're going to more utilize Tony or Juju Smith-Schuster in this offense. And obviously, We'll talk about Kelsey very soon. All right, let's go on to the Cincinnati Bengals. Jamar Chase is one of the safest plays for pretty much on the whole slate. All right, because he's going to see the most targets. All right, as you can see, consistency 13, 12, 13, 12, and 8. And then the touchdowns, he's seen touchdowns, pretty much 5 touchdowns in the last 6 games for Jamar Chase at $7,600 in salary. Do not shy away from him in this game environment here. I love him at his current price. He could be a lock. All right. T. Higgins didn't get an end zone. He's going to see a handful of targets with all the attention on Chase. You think that T. Higgins steps up, but it's been more Hayden Hurst and sparing usage of Tyler Boyd as well. So if you think they're going to switch it up and try to bracket coverage Jamar Chase, and then things can leak out more to T. Higgins, if you see that playing out defensively with Steve Spagnuolo, then definitely go that route. So we're going to continue to consider T. Higgins there. It all depends on the game plan that Spagnuolo is going to bring to the forefront. But T. Higgins is in play at $5,400. Tyler Boyd is becoming a fourth option here. Always could be a guy that could pop off at $3,800 in salary. But we're going to key in on guys that are with usage. And usage is Tony and Jamar Chase. If you want to throw darts on these guys here, Boyd and Juju Smith-Schuster are going to be dart throws in that flex position. T. Higgins has upside to be a wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3 in the matchup here for Sunday as well. Let's go on to the next grouping here between San Francisco and Philadelphia, and I would lean more to Philadelphia wide receivers as the third option here. Mismatches here with A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith. He has a little bit of a left hip issue. He's going to be fine. He should be fine. Please watch out on news on the practice reports coming up Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday to make sure A.J. Brown is clear. And right now, it's been the number one wide receiver on this offense has been Devonta Smith, but do not discount, all right, A.J. Brown. $7,000 in salary. Yes, he's going to see Ward defense here, but A.J. Brown is an elite top-tier wide receiver. No corner can stop him. And him at this salary here, a lot of people might shy away. They might directly go towards the more offensive game there with the Bengals and the Chiefs. But A.J. Brown can fly under the radar and pop off huge in this game for Jalen Hurts and their best buds, all right? And then we have Devonta Smith at $6,800. He's been the more consistent out of these two wide receivers. As you can see, the past 5 weeks, 20, 34, 23, 13, and 18 fantasy points the last 5 games with 3 touchdowns. It was impressive to see him in that game against the Giants, 6 for 10 for 61 in a touchdown. But I think A.J. Brown is going to be a key component in this game against San Francisco. The elite rise to the top, and Devonta Smith has been solid, so he's going to get you a nice base fantasy points wise. He needs to get in the end zone to really go off and have that 20-plus type of performance, and I would lean more and pay up for A.J. Brown, but I like both guys here, all right? For San Francisco, if we're choosing wide receivers here, we're going to go with Deebo Samuel at $5,700 in salary because he's going to be utilized receiving and rushing. As you can see, back-to-back games, he's seeing 3 to 4 rushing attempts. If he gets a goal line carry, that's going to bode well there. A trick play here and there for Deebo Samuel, and his price is under $6,000 in salary. So you're getting a guy that earlier in the season, what was he? $7,000, near $8,000 in salary. You're getting this type of discount in a must-win game, and they're going to need to get creative. Obviously, going up against the Eagles, they're not going to they can't play the vanilla same offense here and think it's going to work. You're going to need to get more creative and put some points on the board to keep up pace with the Eagles. They're going to utilize Deebo Samuel, okay? So I like him at $5,700 because he's going to be used in multiple facets. Brandon Ayuk is a guy that can be utilized yards after the catch. He's seen a little bit of a downturn because this offense getting Deebo Samuel back, that was a plus, and Brock Purdy has a nice connection with George Kittle. Brandon Ayuk has fallen to the number 3 option in this offense. So if you have an affinity for Ayuk, I think he's going to be the number 3 option in this offense And if you feel like playing him at the flex, you can at $4,400 in salary. All right. Let's move on to the tight end. Last but not least, we have the tight end position here. We're going to start off at the top, and that's going to be Travis Kelce, coming off a monster game, 14 receptions, 17 targets, 2 TDs. This man is an elite tight end. There's no reason to fade him. All right, we're going to play their best player, their best offensive weapon in Travis Kelce, with another opportunity to get to the Super Bowl. Kelce is in a great matchup here. Well, a decent matchup going up against the Cincinnati Bengals. Let's see how he did in Week 13. He only had 8.6 fantasy points, so wasn't very productive in that one. I only saw 56 yards on 4 receptions, 6 targets. So they did a decent job on them. I expect Andy Reid to get a little more creative, maybe some tight end screens. Try to find any type of way to get Travis Kelce the football. I don't think they're going to shy away from him in this game. So paying up at $7,800, I'm fine by that. And if we're looking at fantasy points allowed to that tight end position, this is where you'll see that they were pretty solid all year long. 15 overall, 16th in the red zone, allowing 52 yards a game and 5 catches. All right, so a middling matchup, but this is an elite tight end here in Travis Kelce, and that's going to be pretty hard to stop. So we'll see, but I'm not going to be afraid to play him at $7,800. Next guy will be George Kittle at $5,200. He's pretty much he's the 1A or 2 option here in this offense for the 49ers. Brock Purdy has a good connection with him. The touchdown string has stopped, but he's still seeing a solid amount of targets. He was 5 for 5 for 95, coming out with a huge third down catch against Dallas Cowboys that led to one of their key scoring drives. George Kittle, another top tier tight end here that we're going to be looking at $5,200 in salary. Tight end position. Let's look at fantasy points allowed to the tight end position. These Philadelphia Eagles are currently 23rd and 13th in the red zone. So not allowing a lot of touchdowns here. You see that 0 in that stretch of games, but allowing 61 receiving yards. So Kittle is a fine play. We need him to get in end zone to really go off. Or he's going to have a lot of yards. As you can see, it was 5 for 95 against Dallas. This is a solid matchup. 23rd ranked against tight ends here in Philadelphia. They're not perfect, but this is one of the areas where they can find and win a one-on-one battles here with George Kittle going up against their linebackers and safety. So if you consider him at $5,200, you can play him there. Next guy we have is Dallas Goedert at $4,100. He came up big against the Giants, 5 for 58 and a touchdown. The Giants have a history of struggling against tight ends. And if we're looking at these 49ers, this is another leaky spot here. 22nd overall, 10th in the red zone. So a lot of bend don't break defense here for the 49ers. They're pretty solid against they're pretty leaky against wide receivers. Just the reason why I liked Hurts over Purdy, just to mention this really quick. The 49ers against wide receivers were 29th and 26th. So that's going to be a spot where that's why I like A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith in that. And then I would not shy away from Dallas Goedert here at his current salary because they are 22nd overall but 10th in that red zone. So Dallas Goedert at $4,100. According to your lineup builds, whatever you have left, then you would allocate that to the tight end position. Hopefully you have around, if you're not paying enough for Kelce, you have enough for either Dallas Goedert and or George Kittle, okay? And then Hayden Hurst is a sneaky guy here under the radar. And he's just been super consistent, getting a handful of targets here and there. He's been like one of the go-to guys for Joe Burrow, similar to Dak Prescott and Dalton Schultz. Hayden Hurst and Joe Burrow, like we saw last year in that playoff push, CJ Uzomah stepped up. Hayden Hurst has been a solid guy at $3,000 in salary. To keep bumping down his price, but he has been productive. All right, 6 targets against Baltimore, 6 targets against Buffalo. Got in the end zone in that Buffalo game. That was a key reason why you needed to play him last week. And obviously, all the eyes are going to go to the main 3 guys. If you want to fall under the radar and go with someone that's going to get a handful of targets, he needs to get it end zone. That would be Hayden Hurst at $3,000 in salary. I would stick with those 4 guys. There's no need to go to a secondary tight end option here. Could it happen? Yeah, but the usage of these guys here, Kelsey, Kittle, Goddard, I don't think you need to get too cute here and go with Noah Gray or Wilcox, all these number 2 type of tight ends. So the list that we're going to put up forth, obviously, it goes in order. Kelsey's going to be your number 1 option, but you're going to need to save salary in other positions at $7,800. Kittle and Goddard are affordable if you don't pay up all the way at wide receiver. But if you do and you need to save salary at tight end, then you would go with Hayden Hurst. So that's going to be pretty much the breakdown. All right, right there. So thank you guys for tuning in. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. I'll be back with another video very soon. All right, peace out, guys.